Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us for KIMT News 3 First at 4. I'm Amy Fleming. Deer in the forest can be charming, but in city limits, they can cause car wrecks and ruin gardens. The city of Rochester is planning on thinning out the herd with a hunt. KIMT News 3's Jeremy Wall is live from Foster Aaron Park with how the program will help the city. Jeremy?
Amy, the archery hunt will take place in several Med City parks, including Foster Aaron, where I'm standing. The city of Rochester is partnering up with the Rochester Archery Club for the hunt. Mike Nibbar with the Park and Forestry Division says the deer are overpopulated and there are some concerns about the spread of Lyme disease. The Parks and Recreation Department will implement safety procedures for the hunt, while the Archery Club will take care of registration. Nibbar tells me what the community needs to know when the program starts.
When you're looking at our areas, we're really trying to be a safe engagement with the community. So again, the deer hunter is going to be elevated in the stand, shooting downward in a direct trajectory. Again, trying to minimize any safety issues that may be out there. And the spots we chose, working with the archery club, is basically in these spots that are going to be more safe, more remote. They will be along some trails, but they're the bigger wooded areas where there will not be an impact on the trail use itself.
Now, the program starts in September, will run until late December, which is when bow hunting season starts. I'm learning that in some parks here in the city, the program might not start until later in the fall because of recreational activities going on. Live in Rochester, Jeremy Wall, KIMT News 3.
Thanks, Jeremy. Anyone interested in being part of the Controlled Archery Hunt pilot program can head to KIMT.com. We'll have a link attached to this article where you can apply. The application will run through August 22nd. KIMT Storm Team 3 meteorologist Sarah Knox joins us now as temperatures are set to climb a lot higher this week. Sarah, what are you tracking for some serious late summer heat?
Yeah, Amy, we are about to get that nice warm up here. So fans of that summer-like feel, definitely not done with the summertime quite yet. However, this Monday, things have been quite nice. First day of August, check out Austin right now. Beautiful blue sky. Temperatures not even that bad. In fact, right around where they should be for this time of the year. We've got 79 degrees in Austin, but it does feel like 81. So we're already starting to feel that humidity come back, giving us real feels. But do note where the winds are coming from, the west-northwest. Soon, those winds will be coming in from the south, and that's really what's going to help contribute to a lot of these numbers going on up. Right now it is 82 degrees in Mason City, 77 in Rochester. There's the 79 in Austin, 77 as well in Albert Lee, Owatonna, Charles City, a little warmer at 81. Like I said, all of us about where we should be for this time of the year. Do note the numbers in the green boxes there. Those are the dew points. They are rising back into the 60s we go. Again, those are about to climb up even more as the heat and humidity is set to return. I'll explain why here real quick, zooming things out. There's a couple different factors playing right now. Why do we have so much sunshine? Well, high pressure's back in play. Drier air, thanks to this passing cold front that did bring some storms. But there it is out to the west, watching that warm front because that's what's going to be rising up, giving us the heat. And I'll let you know just how warm we'll be getting here in a few minutes. So Amy, it's right back to you.
Thank you, Sarah. We have more information on the moments leading up to an officer-involved shooting that happened over the weekend. On Saturday, a white man walked into a Domino's Pizza with a hatchet over his shoulder just before 11 p.m. The man walked behind the counter and stole money out of the register. Police say the man was found driving a van with out-of-state plates a short time later. Officers say that's when he charged at them and was shot. He later died from his injuries. A woman already behind bars gets in more trouble after she allegedly passed a fake check to the Olmsted County Adult Detention Center. The sheriff's office says the inmate had signed over the check and immediately spent around $430. 33-year-old Kristen Doney of Rochester faces a felony check forgery charge after authorities say several items on the check were misspelled. A public comment period on an FDA proposal to ban menthol flavoring in cigarettes runs through tomorrow. The FDA says the additives make menthol cigarettes easier to use among children and young adults. According to the agency, there are more than 18.5 million menthol cigarette smokers ages 12 and older in the U.S. Health officials say they expect the benefits of the ban to be greatest for young adults and black smokers. The director of Mayo Clinic's Nicotine Dependence Center, Dr. J. Taylor Hayes, discusses the potential impacts of eliminating menthol in smoking products.
But we would probably save hundreds of thousands of lives over the next 3 or 4 decades. So it's not a small thing. Probably a 15% reduction in smoking rates in the next decade if we eliminate it. So as a public health move, it would be huge.
Dr. Hayes says while data suggests menthol itself is addictive, it can also cause people to get more nicotine exposure. He also says treatment approaches work regardless of the type of tobacco you're using. A man caught with 145 grams of methamphetamine is scheduled to be sentenced. 44-year-old Robert Anderson of Austin was arrested on January 5th and charged with first-degree drug possession, third and fourth-degree DWI, and driving after revocation. He pleaded guilty earlier today to a reduced charge of second-degree drug possession. The Mower County Sheriff's Office says Anderson was pulled over for speeding on I-90 in Austin. According to court documents, a search of his vehicle found 145 grams of meth, a digital scale, a butane torch, and a meth pipe. Anderson is now scheduled to be sentenced on September 2nd. Coming up, a man is airlifted following a crash in northeast Iowa this weekend. What we know at this hour about his injuries and potential charges. And later, medical cannabis gummies and chews are now available for purchase in Minnesota. We'll tell you who's eligible and where the products will be available. And the death toll continues to climb as relief and rescue efforts continue in Kentucky. The latest on the flooding still faced by the region.
KIMT News 3, first at 4. Your local news with KIMT News 3's Amy Fleming. Tracking storms with Storm Team 3 meteorologist Sarah Knox. This is KIMT News 3. More local news that is happening right now. We are coverage you can count on.
A man is shot by Cedar Rapids police over the weekend after a traffic stop. The Cedar Rapids Police Department says officers pulled over 23-year-old Brandon Nelson of Cedar Rapids for erratic driving just before 4 in the morning Saturday. Nelson is accused of pulling out a gun and exchanging gunfire with 2 police officers. Nelson was wounded and taken to the University of Iowa hospitals for treatment. The officers were not hurt. The names of the officers involved in the shooting will be released pending interviews with the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation. Flooding in Kentucky has now claimed at least 35 lives. Governor Andy Beshear says that number will continue to grow as rescue teams make their way to more hard-hit mountain towns and villages. Amber Philpott has the latest from Hazard, Kentucky.
Washed out roads and bridges are making it very difficult for first responders to access remote areas of eastern Kentucky. In some of those places, the only way out has been by air. The National Guard alone has pulled more than 400 survivors from the floodwaters.
Obviously, we use a lot of our rotary wing deploying helicopters to rescue people to get to areas that are maybe isolated or cut off.
The threat of even more flooding has added new urgency.
If things weren't hard enough on the people of this region, they're getting rain right now. There is severe storm potential today in all of the impacted areas. That is just not right.
Many residents escaped the rising water in boats. Others just swam. This cell phone video shows a man rescuing a family from a nearly submerged house.
We did get hit by the flood pretty hard, but we were fortunate enough to not have any damage to any of our business assets.
Restaurants like Junior's Hibachi and Heinemann have been cooking up hundreds of free meals.
We had to wait till we got electricity, which was, I think Saturday. We just wanted to come out and do something.
Officials remain focused on finding additional survivors. They're also working to restore electricity and make housing available before temperatures rise into the mid-90s later this week. Amber Philpott, CBS News, Hazard, Kentucky.
The National Weather Service has posted excessive heat warnings in much of eastern Kentucky. Flood warnings are expected to be in place for at least another day.
Rising inflation is affecting our pets, too. I'm Michael George with more on how animal shelters and owners are struggling.
We love the big, beautiful blue sky, and that's what a lot of us are looking at right now with plenty of sunshine, temperatures right where they should be. But that will be changing as we head into our Tuesday. I'll let you know how warm we're set to get coming up.
We track storms to alert you first. This is KIMT Storm Team 3, weather coverage you can count on.
KIMT Storm Team 3 meteorologist Sarah Knox joins us now. Sarah, sounds like this beautiful, some of the temperatures that we saw last week, they're going to give way to some really hot temperatures for starting off the month of August.
Yes, Amy, that is absolutely correct. So if you thought that summer was over as we were cooling down, it felt so good last week, that's just not the case. Summer is definitely not done with us. Although today does definitely feel pretty good. We've got that blue sky. Check it out over US 52 here in Rochester. Meanwhile, the blue sky very visible in Mason City as well. Not a lot of clouds to be seen. All the clouds from this morning have generally moved out of the way as high pressure has moved in, just making it stunning when it comes to our live eye views. It is 82 degrees in Mason City, 77 in Rochester, so both cities right about where we should be for this time of the year. The average around 80 to 81 degrees. Note where the winds are coming from, the west, northwest. Nice light breeze, still allowing some of that drier air to move in. But if you do step outside, you will notice things are a tad bit more humid than, say, they were last Friday, for example. And that's because our dew points have risen back into the 60s, but that's not where they're going to end. No, they're going to keep going up, especially as things begin to change coming into our Tuesday. Before we talk about that, though, here it is again, 77 in Rochester as well as Albert Lee. There's the 82 in Mason City, 79 in Austin. A lot of us looking at some very nice late July temperatures, or rather, early August temperatures. Once again, yes, happy new month, everyone. Satellite and radar here showing off the lack of cloud cover, the beautiful sunshine. It's what we love to see. I'll zoom things out now so we can talk a little bit about what has happened and what is to come. Well, right now we do have this nice high pressure located almost directly over us. That's allowing for some dry air to come in. It was behind this cold front that has since moved way on. That brought us some storms yesterday, especially later in the evening. Now all eyes on this right here, the warm front that will be lifting, and as it does, the heat and humidity are set to return here as we come into our Tuesday. Current wind speeds right now, the only reason I'm really showing this is just to show that the winds are still coming in from the northwest, but we're already beginning to see evidence of that changing. Nobody's really dealing with much breezier conditions than just the single digits. But let's check it out here on Sky Tracker 3. As I push time forward, we see a lot of those arrows beginning to twist and turn. This is around 6 p.m. tonight. Now let's head into our Tuesday, and you can see it right there. The arrows beginning to switch as that warm front helps to push more of this southern flow back into the area. And by the time we get into the morning hours, this is around 8 a.m. Sure, we'll start to see some clouds, probably feeling a bit of that humidity on the rise as well. It's really the afternoon I'll be watching. This is around 1 p.m. Check out the arrows coming almost directly in from the south, helping to bring more heat, helping to bring more moisture, and thus some heat alerts. That's right, 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday. So tomorrow you can see a few of our counties, including Freeborn County, Albert Lee, under this heat advisory. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw a few more counties, especially across North Iowa, go under the orange here for Tuesday. Heat index values 95 to 105 degrees. And the heat isn't done there. Let's look even further into the future. This is August 6th to August 8th. Our temperatures looking very likely that they are going to be remaining above the average, right around that 80-degree mark. So here it is, the 7-day forecast where the weekend is always in view. Where last week we were looking at a lot of 70s on this board. Now we're looking at 80s and yes, 90 degrees for tomorrow. That's why we're watching the heat. Remember, stay hydrated and all those other heat protections that you can. By Wednesday, we're watching for some storm development, and that doesn't come back until we head to the weekend. All right, Amy, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. A Cresco man is thrown from his vehicle and airlifted following a crash this weekend. The sheriff's office says 27-year-old Leighton Gall was driving near County Road A18 and W20 when his vehicle went off the road and rolled. Details on Gall's injuries have not been released yet. Authorities say charges are pending. Animal shelters in some areas of the country are seeing more pets return to their care. Some owners struggling with the rising costs of rent, food, and gas are making the difficult decision to surrender their cat or dog. Factors that may also prevent potential pet families from making the commitment to bring an animal into their home. Michael George takes a look at the effects of inflation on these furry friends.
Mira Horowitz of Lucky Dog Animal Rescue unloads a transport van of animals, fortunate enough to be finding homes.
This is the toughest summer that I have seen in 13 years of being involved in animal welfare.
Horowitz and her team work with High Kill Shelters, bringing animals to the D.C. metro area for foster and adoption. But those needing a home have far outpaced people looking for a pet.
I've never turned down puppies. I am turning down puppies this year.
Data from Best Friends Animal Society show 355,000 cats and dogs were killed in U.S. shelters in 2021, the first increase in 5 years. Inflation-induced financial hardship is now forcing some owners to surrender their pets.
We had to make a decision about, we need a roof for the baby and us.
And shelters in parts of the country are overwhelmed and understaffed.
We only have so much space in our facility, so if we don't have the room, then we have to tell them no.
Another reason for the animal surplus, a suspension of spay and neuter early in the pandemic.
Now we're in like the fourth generation of those unwanted litters that came out of that time.
Organizations like the ASPCA are offering assistance to owners in need, ranging from food to veterinary care, to help keep pets in their forever homes. The ASPCA's community veterinary clinics, like this one in Brooklyn, provide partially and fully subsidized preventative care to qualifying pet owners.
There is a wide spectrum of what pet owners can afford, and all along that spectrum, there's a limit to how much people can pay for care.
We have plenty of cats in here.
Horowitz hopes the dog days of summer don't slow down the pace of giving these little guys a new leash on life. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
To save on medical care, Dr. Brown suggests discussing your budget with your veterinarian because there is typically a range of treatment available. And even if you can't take a pet yourself, animal welfare experts suggest contributing your time as a shelter volunteer or making a donation. Still ahead, we'll have a check of gas prices in our area, how the latest prices at the pump compare to this time last month.
Tensions increased between China and the U.S. after reports Speaker Pelosi and a congressional delegation will make a possible stop in Taiwan. I'm Natalie Brandt with China's warning in light of the potential trip.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is in Asia with a group of congressional Democrats. In a statement, the speaker said the trip is to, quote, reaffirm America's strong and unshakable commitment to our allies and friends in the region. But there are new tensions between the U.S. and China over whether she could add a stop in Taiwan. Beijing warns such a visit could provoke a strong response. Natalie Brand has more from Capitol Hill.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi kicked off her trip to Asia in Singapore, meeting with the nation's prime minister and president. Joining her are several House Democrats, with stops also planned in Malaysia, South Korea, and Japan. The group says it plans to hold high-level meetings to discuss topics including peace and security, economic growth, human rights, and democracy. But tensions between the U.S. and China have ratcheted up over reports the speaker could also make a possible stop in Taiwan as soon as Tuesday.
Speaker Pelosi, will you be going to Taiwan?
Speaker Pelosi has not confirmed the visit, though Taiwanese-American lawyer Jan Young-Lin says a possible stop would be a strong show of support.
I hope she can actually go to Taiwan.
In a phone call between Chinese President Xi Jinping and President Biden last week, China warned against playing with fire.
Beijing considers Taiwan its territory, though the island is self-rule. China says it would regard a possible Pelosi visit as a provocation.
Monday, a spokesman for China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs repeated warnings of possible military action, saying the country could, quote, take strong countermeasures to safeguard its sovereignty and territorial integrity.
There is no reason for Beijing to turn a potential visit consistent with long-standing U.S. policy into some sort of crisis or conflict.
Washington's One China policy recognizes that Taiwan is part of China, but supports Taiwan's democratic values and opposes any forced change to the status. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
If Speaker Pelosi does decide to go to Taiwan, she would be the highest-ranking U.S. government official to visit since former House Speaker Newt Gingrich went back in 1997. Coming up, Minnesota's medical cannabis program expands. We'll tell you what eligible patients can now access from state-run dispensaries.
And we've been enjoying the effects of this, but soon we're going to be feeling this right here. I'll talk about heat and humidity coming up right after this.
KIMT Storm Team 3 meteorologist Sarah Knox joins us now. Sarah, it will be important to be weather aware as those toasty temps are set to take over our area tomorrow. What are you tracking?
Absolutely, Amy. Yes, the temps that we're seeing right here are about to rise. In fact, right now, we're sitting right about where we should be, with these temperatures not looking to go up much more here as we carry on through the rest of the day. Most of North Iowa in the 80s, 82 in Mason City, a lot of southern Minnesota in the 70s, Rochester there in 77, Austin almost at 80 at 79. We got 78 in Preston, plenty of 77s. Also Albert Lea, Owatonna, Dodge Center. It feels good outside, and if you take a step outside, yes, you will feel the humidity. But let me tell you, tomorrow we'll probably feel it a lot more. We luckily have the rest of this Monday, the first day of August, to enjoy as temperatures gradually begin to fall back down, coming back into the 60s. Should make for a pretty nice night. Now, as we head into Tuesday afternoon, let me just step away for a moment here. I was covering up all of this red that we're seeing right here, these very warm temperatures. Miles City in 101. That warmth is coming our way, all responsible because of a warm front that will be rising our temperatures, bringing up our dew points, and yes, the heat index as well. That's why some of us find ourselves under a heat advisory. It goes into effect 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. for tomorrow. As mentioned, the heat index numbers are set to rise. Only a few of our counties in it right now, including Freeborn, Albert Lee, but I do expect this orange to maybe move a little further to the east. We'll be watching it, of course, but yes, tomorrow will be a day to be weather aware, and I'll explain exactly why we're going to be experiencing this warm up and what we can expect for the rest of the week coming up in just a bit. So Amy, I'm going to send things right back to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Patients registered in Minnesota's medical cannabis program will be eligible to buy gummies and chews from the state's medical cannabis dispensaries. These medical cannabis gummies and chews are separate from the recently authorized hemp-derived edible CBD products regulated by the Minnesota Board of Pharmacy. To become a patient in the medical cannabis program, a person has to be certified by a participating practitioner for at least one of the 17 qualifying conditions. New at 4, a 52-year-old Minnesota man is charged this afternoon for stabbings that happened along the Apple River in Somerset, Wisconsin over the weekend. This man, Nikolai Mew from Prior Lake, will face 1 count of first-degree intentional homicide and 4 additional counts of attempted first-degree homicide. The St. Croix Sheriff's Office says Mew was tubing along the river when he started stabbing other tubers after an argument and then took off. 5 people were stabbed and a 17-year-old from Stillwater died. 2 victims from Luck, Wisconsin have been released from the hospital. The names of the victims have not yet been released. Mew is being held at the St. Croix County Jail. His bail is being set at $1 million. At long last, drivers are starting to see some relief at the pump. Here's the latest numbers from AAA in Rochester. Drivers are paying on average of $4.08 a gallon for regular unleaded. About a month ago, prices were sky high in the Med City, averaging $4.70 a gallon. Statewide, Minnesotans are shelling out about $4.21 a gallon, while gas in Iowa is under the $4 range at about $3.86 per gallon. For a county-by-county breakdown of prices at the pump in our area, you can visit the gas tracker on our website at KIMT.com. The lattes and frappuccinos stopped flowing Sunday at a Minneapolis Starbucks. Dozens of employees were on strike with colleagues across the country, as they face off with management. David Schumann explains that when workers created a union in the spring, they joined a growing movement.
We don't get it! Shut it down! No coffee Sunday, and there won't be any Monday either. Not at the Starbucks at 47th and Cedar in Minneapolis.
This job sucks. This job is not fun, and we're not getting paid enough to deal with the stuff we have to deal with every single day.
But Ethan Tinklenberg says this strike isn't for higher wages. Not yet, anyway. He's a barista and a leader in the newly formed employee union. Ethan says they're striking now because management plans to extend store hours, something they're not allowed to do without negotiating first.
It's not about the change itself, it's about them doing it without even talking to us. We don't want them to do this and get away with it and then think they can do worse.
When this Starbucks unionized in April, they became the second location in Minnesota to do so. Now there are 4.
In my opinion, Starbucks is afraid of us pushing for better conditions, better wages.
In a media statement on the strike, Starbucks said in part, "We respect our partners' right to engage in any legally protected activity or protest without retaliation. We always do our best to listen to the concerns of all our partners." While workers at a number of major corporations have moved toward unionizing, nurses at a Mayo Clinic hospital in Mankato voted this week to no longer be represented by the Minnesota Nurses Association. The nurses said in a statement their voices weren't being heard to promote changes for better patient care. The MNA union called the vote a sad step.
Leaders of the Starbucks union say they'll eventually try to negotiate for salaries of $20 an hour. The current starting pay is $15.50 per hour. Tonight, the Austin City Council votes to approve the use of Eastside Lake for a major event. Organizers are hoping to host the 2022 English Springer Spaniel National Open Championship by the lake. The event brings together premier members of the breed from across the U.S. and Canada and is open to professional and amateur handlers. The event was last held in Austin in 2017 and is scheduled from November 17th to the 21st this fall. Over the 5-day competition, each spaniel completes 5 land and 2 water events. Tonight's Austin City Council meeting begins at 5:30 in the City Hall Council chambers and can be streamed live on the city's website. Happening today, a Twin Cities Addiction Center is opening its newest clinic in Rochester. Kai Shin Clinic provides people struggling with addiction a new option in treatment and recovery. It's recognized as one of the best addiction programs in the Twin Cities and provides a wide range of substance abuse, mental health, medication-assisted treatment, and psychological services for adults and adolescents 16 and over. The new clinic is located right off 11th Avenue Northwest in Civic Drive Plaza. And this is the 4th Kai Shin Clinic in Minnesota.
We're continuing to see just more and more need for addiction services, primarily for people who work and go to school and have family commitments and can't attend maybe the traditional inpatient treatment that we would in the past.
The organization is opening a Bemidji clinic in October. Coming up, an update on President Biden's condition as he isolates for the second time in a week due to COVID-19. What his doctors are saying about the cause of these most recent positive tests. Plus, cruise lines are relaxing COVID testing before you board. We'll tell you how the CDC is responding to those changes. And later, there's an urgent need for O-negative blood in the Med City. We'll have details on how you can donate and a closer look why a greater supply is needed.
KIMT News 3, first at 4. Your local news with KIMT News 3's Amy Fleming. Tracking storms with Storm Team 3 meteorologist Sarah Knox. This is KIMT News 3. More local news that is happening right now. We are coverage you can count on.
A number of cruise lines are dropping the requirement of a pre-cruise COVID test for vaccinated guests on shorter trips. In the coming days, Carnival Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean, and MSC Cruises will no longer require pre-cruise testing for vaccinated guests on trips of 5 nights or less. Virgin Voyages and Margaritaville at Sea are dropping required pre-embarking testing. The changes come after the CDC ended its COVID-19 program for cruise ships last month. Now, the CDC says cruise lines have the tools and guidance they need to manage their own COVID programs. In its latest guidance, the CDC says cruise lines should consider mandating COVID tests for travelers close to departure and highly recommends testing within a day of the start of the cruise. President Joe Biden continues to test positive for COVID-19. That's according to the latest update from his doctor. Dr. Kevin O'Connor says Biden tested positive on an antigen test earlier Monday morning. He says the president feels well and will continue to isolate until he tests negative again. Monday marked day 2 of President Biden's second isolation. He tested positive for COVID on Saturday in what Dr. O'Connor says was likely a case of rebound COVID-19 positivity after taking Paxlovid. A small percentage of patients treated with the antiviral Paxlovid do experience a COVID-19 rebound. The president first tested positive on July 21st and had mild symptoms for several days before ending his isolation on Wednesday after 2 negative COVID tests.
Screening billboard helped save one woman's life.
And if you have been enjoying these great temperatures we've experienced last week and even coming into this first day of August, well, things are going to be changing. I'm tracking the return of summer heat, and I'll let you know about it coming up.
We track storms to alert you first. This is KIMT Storm Team 3, weather coverage you can count on.
KIMT Storm Team 3 meteorologist Sarah Knox joins us now on a sunny start to this Monday evening. Sarah, what are you tracking the rest of tonight?
Yeah, Amy, it has been beautiful, sunny, but it wasn't always like that. And yes, I know it is dark behind me. This is Rochester around 4:42 a.m. And you know what that means? It's time for a time lapse. So let's push time forward. The sun has risen. It was pretty cloudy this morning, and then the clouds started to disappear. Then they came back, and now look at it. There's the sunshine Amy mentioned. It is absolutely beautiful outside, and I mean that. It may be a little more humid. It's had a bit warmer than it was last week, but it's still fantastic for an early August day. It's 77 degrees right now in Rochester, 82 in Mason City. We've got 79 in Austin as well as Owatonna. You may notice, though, we are back into the 60s, some of us the mid-60s when it comes to these dew points. There's a little more humidity out there right now, and you can certainly feel it if you take a step out. But luckily, it's not very oppressive. That will probably be changing here as we continue through the rest of this week. But for now, things are great. Things looking fantastic on satellite and radar. A lot of the cloud cover from this morning, as we saw on the time lapse, is kind of melting away. High pressure helping with that, bringing in some drier air, keeping the dew points in the 60s. And we can see that high pressure there, almost a result of the cold front that moved over last night. That did bring some storms our way, but that has since moved out of the way. Still seeing some of those northwestern winds, though, which is really helping to keep us on the cooler side. Yes, you see it right here. It draws your attention. The warm front is on the way, and that's what's going to be setting the stage here as we do come into our Tuesday, especially. The heat and humidity will be back. In fact, some of the states over there are already seeing some of that heat. Current winds, really nothing to talk about here when it comes to the wind speeds. A lot of us still in the single digits, just a nice breeze. Really what I'm showing here is just where the winds are coming from. You can see a lot of the arrows starting to slow down, trying to change direction a little bit. Well, that trend is going to continue here as we see on Sky Tracker 3. So pushing time forward, here we are not too long from now. Looks almost similar to what we're experiencing right now when it comes to the winds, but let's head into our Tuesday. Here we are, 1 a.m. Already starting to see the winds beginning to change direction. Where are they coming from? Mainly the southeast. But now let's head into the morning hours. This is around 8 a.m., so we're heading out in our morning commute. Winds already beginning to take more of a southern flow, starting to see a few clouds here, maybe a sprinkle or two. Otherwise, it's going to remain fairly sunny for our Tuesday, and by the time we get into the afternoon, there it is. It's going to be breezy, almost like a hair dryer here. We've got the humidity, the heat coming back in, and the winds picking up straight from the south. And that's why a few of us in the orange here, that is a heat advisory set to go into effect at 1 p.m. tomorrow until 8 p.m. You'll notice Freeborn County, Albert Lee, and a few of our other counties in this orange color. Most of it is to the west. However, I wouldn't be surprised if we do start to see some of this inch a little further to the east, because a lot of us will be experiencing that big warm up with real feel index or heat index numbers anywhere from 95 to over 100 degrees. And the heat doesn't stop there. This is a look at August 6th to August 8th. We're still right there in the red, looking at above average temperatures, very likely here as we do continue into the rest of our August here. 7-day forecast now where the weekend is always in view. Where last week we saw lots of 70s, well, now we're seeing 80s and even the 90 there on our Tuesday. Things do cool down a bit on Wednesday as we see a chance for some isolated thunderstorms. Thursday looking nice, but then we warm back up again for round 2 as we head into the weekend, nearing 90 degrees on Saturday, while also watching for more summer storms. All right, Amy, sending it back to you.
Thanks, Sarah. Today is World Lung Cancer Day, raising awareness about the leading cause of cancer deaths in the U.S. A new survey shows many Americans don't know about screening, which can detect this disease early for people at high risk. Danya Backus has one California woman's story.
Denise Lee passed a billboard like this every day on the way home from work in 2017, encouraging lung cancer screening for people at high risk. She had just quit smoking after 40 years.
I was just trying to all around get healthy. I did not know that there was such a thing as a low-dose CT scan until I saw that billboard.
She asked her doctor about screening, but had to wait a few months until she turned 55 to be eligible. She scheduled her scan later, and it revealed early stage 1B lung cancer.
I had my upper left lobe removed. I had 17 lymph nodes removed. And then I had some factors that were indicative of a higher rate of recurrence.
A new American Lung Association survey shows nearly 70% of Americans are not familiar with the availability of lung cancer screening for early detection.
75% of people in this country who are diagnosed with lung cancer are diagnosed at its most advanced stages where it's hardest to cure.
Dr. David Tom Cook is the chief of general thoracic surgery at UC Davis Health.
Of all the Americans who are candidates, only 5% of Americans undergo lung cancer screening.
Guidelines now recommend screening for people between age 50 and 80 with a 20-pack year smoking history. And current smokers are ones who have quit within the last 15 years. Denise had surgery and only needed 4 rounds of chemotherapy.
Early detection, saved my life. I'm just really passionate about people who are eligible getting screened.
She was also able to take part in a clinical trial testing an immunotherapy drug to try to prevent recurrence. Danya Backus, CBS News.
About 14 million Americans are considered high risk for lung cancer and are recommended for screening. For more information on your risk for lung cancer and whether you are eligible, you can take the Saved by the Scan quiz from the American Lung Association. You can find even more resources, including the quiz, by visiting lung.org. Still to come, the Olmsted County Fair may be over, but the memories from the 2022 edition remain. KIMT News 3's Jeremy Wall is live with an update on the success of this year's event. The Mayo Clinic Blood Donor Program's urgent need for O-negative blood donations continues. There was a 25% increase in daily usage last week. If you have O-negative blood, you're being asked to donate if you can. Currently, scheduled appointments only guidelines are in place to ensure social distancing. To schedule your appointment, you're invited to call the number on your screen. Same-day appointments are available if you cannot schedule in advance. The two donation locations are the first floor of the Hilton building and the main floor of the Joseph building on the St. Mary's campus.
We've got another evening that will be perfect for maybe going for a nice run, a bike ride, walk through the park. But things will change here as we get into our Tuesday, and we're talking some dangerous changes too. I'll tell you about the warm-up I'm tracking right after this.
time now for a weather update. Let's check in with KIMT Storm Team 3 meteorologist Sarah Knox. Sarah, you've been talking about this heat wave coming this week.
Yeah, those temperatures about to go way up here as we come through the rest of the first week of August. But hey, this Monday, August 1st, things are feeling pretty nice, looking pretty nice too in Austin. Love the blue sky. Not really a lot of clouds to worry about here as we've come into the late afternoon, early evening. It is 79 degrees right now, surface temp in Austin, but it feels like 81. So yes, the return of humidity, but the humidity, those are going to be going up here soon as we head through into our Tuesday. In fact, all these numbers will. Temperatures included here in the green boxes showing the current dew points. Right now, 63 in Rochester, 77. The current temperature at 79 in Austin, as we just saw, a little warmer in Mason City at 82. But yes, again, if you step outside, you're going to feel a little of the humidity as those dew points have returned to the 60s. But again, they are going to start climbing. Why? Well, let's zoom satellite and radar out here so we can see a little bit of the setup that's going on. We've got high pressure in control right now, coming in behind the cold front that did pass last night, brought us back those northwestern winds, kind of keeping things a little drier, a little cooler. But what we're seeing right here in development is a warm front. That's going to be coming our way here shortly, and I'll let you know just how warm we'll be getting here in the next few minutes. So Amy, I'm going to send it all right back to you.
Thank you, Sarah. An Austin man caught with 145 grams of meth is pleading guilty. Robert Anderson was arrested on January 5th and charged with first-degree drug possession, third and fourth-degree DWI, and driving after revocation. He's pleading to a reduced charge of second-degree drug possession. The Mower County Sheriff's Office says Anderson was pulled over for speeding on Interstate 90 in Austin. Court documents state a search of his vehicle found 145 grams of meth, a digital scale, a butane torch, and a meth pipe. Anderson will be sentenced next month. Rochester Parks and Recreation is planning to control the city's deer population. They'll be partnering with the Rochester Archery Club for a hunt during the fall. Applications are open and hunters can apply until August 15th. Bow hunting season starts on September 17th and runs until December 31st. Just a few of the areas included in the hunt are Bear Creek, Essex Park, and Foster Errand. Over 200 deer-related vehicle accidents were reported in Rochester last year. Other issues with deer overpopulation include property damage from overgrazing and public health